I welcome all viewers to today's episode. Today, we'll be talking of a particular concern that has been raised by one of the experts in this community, and that has to do with misconception by consumers on not being able to differentiate between food fortificants and food additives. So again, for the informant, I want to say thank you again for this information. We'll be learning much why the need for the application of FF, what are the implications of not adding this FF. Then we want to look at what are the types of FF that are added to food. Not only that, we'll look at the benefits and we'll look at the types of food. And at the end, we'll look at what makes it to be different from food additives. However, if you're just joining us on this channel, we appreciate that you continually join us by watching this, by notifying others, by subscribing, by making your comments, and by pressing the like button. So, why the need for addition of FF to food? Let's start from home. We've observed that these days, when you want to cook your potatoes, what do? You peel the potatoes. We peel our potatoes. Even a yam, we cut a yam, we peel. Let's even look at our vegetables. While cooking vegetables too, we cut our vegetables. Some people, they wash the vegetable even before cutting. Maybe peradventure something get a sort of dirt or so enters. We go back to rewash and so on and so forth. We have already nutrients in these potatoes that we discard off. In some places, they turn into animal feed. I recalled when I was young that I had to spend Christmas in my father's village. I observed those days that when they want to cook their pounded yam, they just wash the yam and just cut it, very big. They put it on the fire, they cook it. After cooking, when it is time to pound, that is the time you see those women, with leaves or they put it and there's a way they easily peel it and pound. Thereby, from the point of processing, some of those micronutrients or some of those nutrients will have been transferred to the main tuber that they are going to pound. But these days in cities, we don't really do that. We make sure we cut off before we do cooking. All those things, by that process, we are already doing what? Discarding even most of the nutrients. And when this happens, at the end of the day, we process, we eat, we are eating lesser nutrient-filled food. Thus, some of the reasons, or one of the reasons for the addition of FF, nutrients, it is called fortificants. But let's just say for today, let's just call it FF. That is why the addition of this FF to these food products. Another reason is that even while you may have some migration of those nutrients even into the main food, there is still need, because there is always a loss. There is the need to add more of this FF. And in such a situation, you say that they are trying to do enrichment, to enrich it. But even when it is totally lost, for example, in cereals, you have the vitamin B12 that is more in what we call, when you remove the bark, that turns to chaff. They try to make sure that they replace it. That is a sort of restoration. They are putting it back into it. Okay, this thing was there originally, but because of the processing method that we've used, we have discarded it, there's need for us to restore. That is why this is done. And we all need it. Okay, is it only limited to micronutrients? In some climes, they do add protein. Some other places, they add fiber. We all know most of fibers. When you make your cornmeal, you do most of the fibers, they are lost. So they make sure they restore it, by adding fibers even into them, to such processed foods. More of what is used in FF are what we call the micronutrients. And the commonest is you have your zinc, or we have the vitamin A, we have the vitamin B's. Let's now go to this point. Is it any food that can be fortified, that you can add all these nutrients that we have mentioned? In principle, any food can be added with FF. I mean, any food. You go into the market these days, you find some milk, evaporated milk, they'll say vitamin 26 something added. Or you find some product, you find selenium, it is added. In some countries, especially the cold regions, you find vitamin D is added food. But for you to maximize that, it has to be done with what we call staple food. That is food people consume more. That is why. That is the food that people consume more, that you are sure they are likely to. For example, now we all know, like a nation like Nigeria, and not only Nigeria, even let's look along the West African coast. Even generally now, it's getting like that, even in the almost all the whole of Africa. You find out that people like to eat rice. People eat rice a lot. If you go to Asia, rice is their staple food. So you find some of these countries, you discover that they've decided that FF must be added to their rice. Why? Because one, to restore what might have been lost during the course of processing. Then another reason is FF is mostly used, when they claim that, it's mostly used as a sort of public health intervention to address micronutrient deficiencies among the populace, among the vulnerables, among the pregnant women. You are saying that, okay, a particular food, you must add iron to it, because we all know that lack of iron, a lot of people will have anemia. For example, that is why we have salt being fortified with iodine to address the issue of goiter. Another thing that has to be considered is that when they are adding this FF to some of these processed foods, especially where the government of a particular nation has decreed that this food, you must add particular nutrients to it, they might have considered the cost implication, that the cost is not really going to be much even to the consumers. They must have also considered that while eating that, they're not going to have a change in their diet pattern. So these are some of the reasons, or these are the food type, these are the micronutrients that are added. Let's now look at additives. In our past episode, we addressed what additives are. Food additive is not having any value to address deficiency in human. No value at all. And we already know deficiency in some of this, most of these micronutrients will lead to what? Will lead to diseases and sicknesses. For food additives, you will always have particular numbering, always a letter preceding particular number, or it may be INS. Going back now, let's look at the benefits. Either we like it or not, we do not really have diversification in our diet. So by eating fortified food, some of these deficiencies that are attributed to our low diversification of diets will be addressed. There are more benefits in eating fortified foods, processed foods, than non-fortified. Now we'll be able to see the difference between food additive and the fortificants that are added to all these processed foods. So when you want to buy any processed foods, when you have the option of choosing between that particular food being fortified or not fortified, please pick fortified one. So on this episode, I think we've made ourselves clear to see the differences between food fortificants and food additives. I still plead with you to subscribe to this channel, make your comments, turn on your notification button, like. Thanks for listening, as I look forward to seeing you on the next episode, and bye.